name is Ashton York, and I observed at Lone Oak at all of their schools. And for kindergarten, I did Lone Oak Primary School, and I was in the kindergarten class with Miss Grinnell. When I arrived, they were doing carpet time. I really liked how she did her carpet time because she started off with calendar time every day, so they would learn the days of the week and their numbers, and she could also include math with calendar time. She used colors to count and know the date, so it was a very good system of what she did. They learned months, and then they began to the beginning and the end, so they would know all their months. She did a very good job at teaching. She was very in control of her class. They learned the spelling of the weeks, so during calendar time and carpet time, they could include math, spelling, colors, rhymes. They did all kinds of things that they learned that morning. She has a clipboard, and they have to put the clip down if they don't listen. So if there was this one little boy that was acting up, and she had to take her clipboard, and she would move their clip down, and they all automatically knew what that meant. She would have if they were up top, they would get like a reward. If they were in the middle, they weren't in trouble, and if they were at the bottom, they had to miss recess or something. But it was a very good system because they all knew, to start being good when she would go over to the clipboard. They would always spell the days of the week together and the month and the year out loud. All in all, she had around 20 students in her classroom. There was one little boy that especially acted out that she had to get on to quite often. But all in all, I really enjoyed kindergarten. The next one I did was at Lone Oak Primary School, and it was the self-contained classroom. Miss Walker did the self-contained classroom. This was really interesting to me because these kids in the self-contained classroom, they weren't in there all day, but when they were in there, they were doing carpet time, and they were working with them one-on-one to help them understand what was going on in their other classes. There were 9 students that usually came in and out of self-contained. One little girl didn't want to work or listen, so she was in the corner pretty much the whole hour I was in there. They said that they always had trouble with her, and she was just a really misbehaved child, so I didn't even talk to her. They work at their desk. They all have an assigned desk in there. Even though they're not in there all day, they still have an assigned desk. There was a couple kids in there that really didn't want to learn, and they had to go sit in the corner or miss time out. There was the alphabet game. They each got to hang up a letter, and they could make different words, and the kids really got a lot out of doing this game. My next one is the special resources, and that was with Miss Hill. If I can find it. That was with Miss Hill. And she did a very good job. I really enjoyed the special resources. She worked with dry erase boards, with letters, and she knew the letter that the children wanted to. She even let them do with sand. And she would let them write the letter in the sand, and she would just kept saying it, and they would just trace the letter. She had them do it like 5 times in a row. And then after they were done, they would shake their board. But if they picked their board up off the table, they didn't get to do the sand anymore. But I thought that was a really good way to learn, because then when she gave them paper and a pen, and she told them to do it with the paper and the pen, she was able to write it. She could write it out. They could write it out every time. And then they learned their letters, like the sounds of the letters. A lot of the kids mixed up D's and B's. They would want to write their B's as D's, and she had this cute little saying in their fingers that they would do, and they would repeat it over and over, and the kids eventually caught on. But she said they still on their test, they get mixed up with the D's and B's pretty bad. But then they worked on a bunch of different syllables, and they did the clapping, so they would know the different syllables. The next one that I did was 3rd grade. And I did that at Lone Oak Elementary School and in Miss Lassiter's classroom. They worked on math pretty much the whole hour I was in there, of multiplication and division, and they did a bunch of word problems. she would actually let them write on their desk, and they could, she would actually let them write on their desk, and they could just write the numbers on the desk, and then she would just let them wipe it off because she had these desks that you could write on, and the kids really enjoyed that. So, I mean, some of them didn't always write what they needed to, but most of them did. They would all write, like, the different ways to multiply, divide, add, subtract down the side of their desk. She calls it, how she did it was, she was very organized. She would call each desk group by their color to come up and get a marker board, and they would each come up, but if they didn't come when their turn was, they would have to wait because she liked to do it individually. She has very positive quotes all over the wall. Her classroom was decorated very educational and inspiring for the kids. It motivated them. She taught many different ways to divide. Like, she would teach the normal way, and then she would teach a way that might be easier for the kids, like drawing out boxes or anything. They caught on pretty good. Most of them liked the old way, but some of them didn't understand and liked the other way better. They also did some art while they were in there. It was very interesting. Next, I did 4th grade. And I did that at Lone Oak Elementary School with Mistress Gann. She was a very interesting teacher. She started off by reading aloud. She made the stories fun for the kids. She had students read, and she put the pages on the smartboard, and then she stopped to ask them questions to make sure they all understood what was going on. They were working on fluency, basically. So they focused on vocab words and class. The other class was leaving, so she had 2 classes while I was in there. The first class was working on fluency, and then after about 15 minutes of me being in there, they switched class and she got a new class. The kids did pretty good with the transition, so after the other kids left, she started going over a new thing for the kids to do, and then she let us see the worksheets they were doing. She has reading groups every morning from 8:30 to 9. The whole school does it. That has passages that they have to read, and sometimes they don't even have their own students. It's a little group thing that the whole school's doing that she gets every single morning. She walks around and helps anybody that needs help. She's very supportive in there. Her classroom was actually painted yellow, and I really liked that because there was a bunch of yellow and gray decorations, and the kids really seemed to like it. Next, I did the Gifted and Talented, which was the 5th grade, 5th grade basically, at Lone Oak Elementary with Miss Wicker. It was Cultural Day, so that was really interesting. All the stuff was set up in the cafeteria, and they had made food from like Sweden, Ireland, North America, all these different countries, Mexico, Puerto Rico, and they had all these different foods, and they had like PowerPoints set up and slideshows you could look at, pictures in a book, little poster boards made, and they were all dressed up in their little costumes. And you could go around and eat any of the food, which I did. It was really good. They had like tamales and all kinds of different food that I'd never even heard of. And they did a very good job putting that together. Miss Wicker did a very good job with them. She said they'd been working on that for a few months they've been working on that, but it all came together really good. They did very good on that. Next is 6th grade, and I did that with Mr. Boyd at Lone Oak Middle School. He was the math teacher. He was the algebra math teacher, and he did a very good job at teaching his class. They were doing the bell ringer when I got there, because I got there right when the bell rang, and they did groups of like terms, and the children were very attentive, and the teacher worked out the answers on the board. They did combining with X, so this is basically a lower algebra class, and it was somewhat geometry, and they did positive and negative numbers and solving equations. They were working one-step equations at the time, and how he would do it, he would work one on the board, and then he would let them work one so that they would understand what was going on. And the last place that I went to was my inclusive site, and I did my inclusive site at the inclusive site at Lone Oak. And the teacher's name was Miss Walker. The teacher's name was Miss Walker, and she had quite a few students in there, and the children, didn't always use their words, so she made them use their words. Some of them couldn't talk. It just depended. There was all kinds of different kids in there. Some of them, the parents were trying to decide whether they should go to public school the next year or not, because a lot of them were very smart. Most of them were difficult to keep focused. Their minds were everywhere and they wanted to do something else, but they would get rewards for staying focused, and they knew how the system went. They would talk about how many colors were on the carpet, and then just, like I said, there was different ages through there, 1st through 3rd, but some of them, they were not on the same level as the others at all. These teachers had a lot of patience with these kids, and they were really good with them, and I really enjoyed all of my observations that I observed at.